care that thing for.
New toys, Mike.
Oh my God!
I care that thing for.
Off season.
Man, that looks good.
We got the tank tops. That's the link that's in the comments right now.
That's 3 days
in a podcast. And I just want to say I appreciate the support of me and my team, and I encourage everyone to go check out their podcast and check out their fan page. Go Lions.
Go Lions. Yeah. You like that? Say hello in the comments, people. Who we got in here today? Oh, yeah. That's it right there. Love it. All right. Hey, everyone. It's Monday night. That means it's the Main Event Football Show. I'm your host, Main Event Mike, along with the maestro, Russell Wayne. And today we are going to be talking about the top 11 tight ends, continuing our series of our top 11 position rankings. It's just a top 10 list, except ours go to 11 because we're musicians and that's how we like it. We're also going to talk about the latest Lions news, which is Jake Bates, the kicker. You guys all got on your knees and prayed for it and wished for it, and you made it a reality. And we're going to talk about that today. But before we get into any of that, please, if whatever platform you're watching on, if it's Facebook at Lions Villain Squad, please follow our page. And if you are watching on our YouTube channel, which is at Villain Squad on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, let's get into it. I am Main Event Mike. Welcome, everyone, to the main event. It is great to be here with you. It's been a great week. Feels like summer outside, and that means football season's around the corner. And the Lions made a big move, kind of a big move, this week by signing UFL, all-pro UFL kicker Jake Bates from the Michigan Panthers. This guy's been kicking in Ford Field. He made a 64-yard game winner this year. And so many Lions fans clamoring for this guy. Even though they re-signed Michael Badgley to a one-year contract, they now bring in some competition in camp. So it's going to be some drama leading up to the season. Who's going to be the kicker? I want to hear from you out there. Put it in the comments. Do you think it'll be Badgley? Do you think it will be Jake Bates? Or do you think it will be the kicker from Michigan that they brought in as an undrafted free agent? Will they keep him on the practice squad? Keep this in mind, folks. You can only protect 6 guys on the practice squad. Other than that, other teams can poach your guy. Are you willing to protect a kicker on the practice squad if that's Jake Bates or if that's Michael Badgley? They've let Michael Badgley come and go a couple of times. It's almost like they just don't respect him too much. Now they signed this guy to a 2-year deal. So anyway, we're going to be talking about that. And let's say hello to who's here. Hey, Chuck, what's happening? And Davey back in the house. Great to see you, Davey. It takes more. One pride. You're going to hear that a lot today. And our good, one of our favorites. Oh, look at her new, her character there, her avatar there. I love it. Hello from Marshall, Michigan. What up, dude? It's a great day to be a Lions fan. Our good friend Roy in the house. Last year's Aubrey for Dallas, he thinks Jake Bates is going to be. And then Elder in the house. Hello, Elder. Jake Bates is his vote. Russell Wayne, what's your vote?
My vote?
Who's it going to be game 1?
game one, I think it's going to be Jake Bates. I mean, they went out there and they signed the guy to a 2-year deal. Whoops, wrong one. Yeah, they went out there. They signed him to a 2-year deal. That means they make a commitment to him. I mean, the guy's actually got a foot. I mean, you're out there telling me week after week after week, they need to sign this guy. They need to sign this guy. They got him in there. I know that you like Badgley, but I think Jake Bates is the guy. Okay. I mean, look at this kid. Look at this kid. He's ready to do it. He's been kicking in Ford Field all year.
Yeah.
He has more experience than any kicker we have on our roster kicking at Ford Field.
Okay, well, I think it's going to be Badgley. And the reason I think it's going to be Badgley because the guy hasn't missed a field goal in 2 years.
Oh!
Last year for the Detroit Lions, Michael Badgley was 4 for 4. Isn't it absurd? Our coach only went for a field goal 4 times the entire season. You like that? In the playoffs, he went for 3 field goals. Guess what? Michael Badgley hit all 7 of those. One of them was a 54-yarder. You like that? Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, these guys are former players, all right, and they hold a lot of stock. If you're going to win the job, you got to come in and take the job from the incumbent. And I don't think Michael Badgley has done anything to lose the job. They even re-signed him to a new 1-year contract, and it's going to come down to camp competition. And I just think Badgley, there's reports that he's been working on leg strength. So if he can get to 55 yards consistently, it's going to be really hard to supplant him. Jake Bates, by the way, last year in the UFL, 21 of 28. That's not stellar, folks. That is not stellar. 21 of 28. It's better than average, barely. 21 of 28. Is that what you're putting your stock in? Yeah, he can kick a big long one. Maybe we'll have him do kickoffs or something. But now with the new kickoff rule, a big leg doesn't mean that much anymore. You don't want to kick it out of the end zone now with these new rules. You want to pin it to the corner.
That's interesting. I got a question for people that are out there. So let's say this scenario plays out. They go into camp and Badgley does beat out Bates and Bates gets cut from the roster. What would that make you mad as a Lion fan? Would that like shake your confidence or like you said, Badgley's been pretty damn good when they need him to be good,
No, whichever one doesn't make the start, they could carry both of them. Who knows? Maybe one of them's a good holder, right? One of them's good at place holding.
They got to keep 2 kickers, really?
Well, teams do it all the time. They got one guy who does kickoffs, and then they got another guy that does field goals. They do it all the time. And Riley Patterson was on this team last year, so that cut down some of Badgley's attempts. So that might make it look a little different here. And that comment comes courtesy of Roy. Thank you, Roy. Riley Patterson was also on this team at the beginning of the year, so that 4 for 4 might be a little misleading, but that's still 100% any way you slice it. He hasn't done anything to lose the job, is my point.
Well, how do you like that out there, everybody? Look at that. Main Event Mike coming in and throwing an attaboy out there to our very own Badgley. And you know how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell love these guys that have already been here. You already know what the locker room's like. You already know where the cafeteria is at.
Mm-hmm. And if they do, let's say Jake Bates, you're right. Let's say Jake Bates, you're right, and Jake Bates wins the job, and they kick Badgley over to the practice squad. It won't be long before some other team comes in there and poaches Badgley off the practice squad, and vice versa. Even though Jake Bates has a 2-year contract, so he's got a good agent, he goes to the practice squad, some other team poaches him, they also take that contract with them, right? So that's a nice little guarantee that they have built in here. Yeah, we'll just kick him over to the practice squad if Badgley beats him out, and some other team will have to take that 2-year. If you want him, you're going to have to take that 2 years with him and either renegotiate it, buy it out, or whatever. Not our problem. So I love this move. It's another great Brad Holmes move. Brings in the Michigan local kicker to add more drama to this competition. He is going to squeeze, competition breeds results, and they are going to squeeze every ounce out of it. And boy, have we spent way too much time talking about kickers already. What's up, Bash? I'm not going to be mad. It's all about competition. That's right. May the best player win. Elder says, no, won't make me mad. Dan don't believe in kicking field goals. Yeah. Right on. So, go ahead.
Oh,
Did you?
I mean, the jury's out on that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Should he kick the field goal or should he not kick the field goal? I don't know. You're going to find out this week on this episode of Law and Order, which is on our YouTube channel. You should subscribe right there. Grit.
What's up with the Law and Order clink clink? I love it.
Hey, you and I, this show is this is our personalities coming out, right?
Yes.
We're just a bunch of Lions fans. Oh, you don't watch Law and Order?
I've seen every episode.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Of
Just so we know what we're doing. All right. Get back on task. Here we go.
All right. Hey, before we do that, I do want to get Detroit Fan Man's point in here. With these new rules, kicking now includes tackling. Bates is like 20 pounds bigger than Badgley. What a great call out that is. And UFL, these are UFL rules that we're kicking now, and we're bringing in a UFL kicker. Brad Holmes is a Jedi, folks. Great call out, Detroit Fan Man. But now it is time to get to our top 11 list. We've been doing this for the last couple of weeks. First week we did quarterbacks. Second week we did running backs. Now we're doing tight ends. Next week, folks, it's wide receivers. So if you want to get that's going to be a lot harder because there are a lot more than 11 wide receivers to pick from to get a list out of. So think about that for next week. Who's the top 11 in the NFC and wide receivers? But for this week, it is tight ends. Let's just jump right into it. And there are 16 teams in the NFC, but we are ranking a top 11, which means 5 teams are going to get wiggity whacked off the list today.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
Yeah, we're going to bite their kneecap off. Russ, what is the first team that gets whacked? Name me a team that does not have a top 11 tight end on the roster.
Well, one thing that I think that I want to throw out there first is how we pick these.
Right.
Why is this team going to get wiggity whacked? So we're trying to find 11, right? So we're going to take into consideration what they did last year, how well they can block and play the tight end position and receiving, all of the package put together. And if you don't have one in the top 11, then we got to call our guy in, Pete, the unaliver. He comes in and he whacks.
Took care of that thing for you.
He whacks the entire room. And somebody that's not going to have a tight end in the top 11 because Darren Waller just retired from the NFL will be the New York Giants.
Took care of that thing for
So we call in Pete the unaliver. He whacks the entire room. And then we don't have to worry about having any more of I don't even know who's playing tight end in New York, Mike.
I do not know. I know they have Devin Singletary as a running back and Daniel Jones. They drafted Malik Neighbors. They've got Wan'Dale Robinson. Not a lot of firepower on the offense over there. That team's in trouble. Like you've said a couple of times, it's a great point. They paid the wrong guy. You should have paid Saquon Barkley, maybe not what Christian McCaffrey just got, but something north of the franchise tag. You should have paid him that money and made him a Giant for life because he's a special player. Now he's a special player for your division rival. And Darren Waller flaked out and retired. So all these pieces that they were building for Brian Daboll, who just won Coach of the Year a couple of years ago, now it's all blown up on them. This team is in trouble. They're in a division with 2 powerhouse teams with the Cowboys and the Eagles. And it doesn't matter if I did know who the tight end was. It certainly wouldn't be one of the top 11 in the NFC.
Took care of that thing for you.
Thank you, Pete the unaliver. Yep. So the New York Giants, their entire room is done. You want me to? Yeah, I like this flow right here where I can kind of give you the room and then you can tell me why too. And it turns out that this division's pretty bad. I think that Washington is a dumpster fire right there. And you got Logan Thomas doesn't even play there anymore. And it seems like you want him to be good every year and it's not. They can't get it going right there. Who's going to play there? But I got the Washington Commanders on the wiggity whack list. Thank you, Pete the unaliver. I appreciate that. Do you agree with me, Mike?
I 100% agree with you. Logan Thomas has been a fantasy bust every year of his career. He's got a great talent. He'll flash really great. Well, now they traded him anyway. They don't have him on the roster anymore. They have literally no one at tight end. Bunch of guys I never heard of when I looked it up. It's not even worth putting their names out there because they're not going to make the top 11 regardless of what their names are. They do have Terry McLaurin, who's a real number one receiver. They have Jahan Dotson, in my opinion, is one of the best number two receivers in the entire league, not just the NFC. And they've got a budding young running back in Brian Robinson from Alabama, who rebounded from being shot last year and came on strong at the end of the year, on a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who's going to run a lot. A young quarterback like Jaden Daniels needs a good tight end. They need a good tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Commanders make a trade or something to shore up this position. But right now, they don't have a tight end in the top 11, so they get whacked.
Took care of that thing for you.
Thanks, Pete. For anybody who doesn't know, we got dinged pretty hard for using the KILL word, so that's Pete the Unaliver.
Yeah. We're not going to use that word anymore. And he just,
thanks, Facebook.
Opposite of alive is what he makes you in there. And in the spirit of our, Manny the Main, the guy who calls all the shots around here. But we got 2 rooms out of the way, Mike. We've done a good job already. We got to get it down to 11, but we got to at least pay some kind of teeny little amount of time here. And we have this other team that has like a 3-foot quarterback, and they're out there just
wait, there's actually 2 3-foot quarterbacks in the NFC, so I'm really wondering here.
Well, when your tight end is Tommy Tremble and that's your best tight end, he did have his best year last year, but you're not going to be in the top 11. You weren't even close in any metric or anything. So we have to whack that entire room right there. So there you go. Carolina Panthers, your tight end room is whack. Thank you.
Took care of that thing for you.
I appreciate you, Pete the Unaliver. So that's 3 rooms out of the way. Do you want to say anything about the 4-foot quarterback and, you spent the number 1 pick on
there's another team that's in trouble when it comes to weapons. Second year, they got Jonathan Mingo. They got Adam Thielen at 34 years old, I believe. They did get Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in the backfield, you got Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. Again, not a lot of firepower, a lot similar to the New York Giants. And a young mobile quarterback back there and no weapons for him, including tight ends. This is another team that's in trouble. A guy like Bryce Young, just like we were just saying about Jaden Daniels, could really benefit from having a good tight end there. So, going to have to whack the entire room there in Carolina.
So let's put them back up there again, because I figure I took some time on these graphics. I want to have it go out there again. So there's Pete the Unaliver taking care of business.
Took care of that thing for you.
Going to take care of the entire room right there. And that wasn't hard. Those 3 weren't that hard.
Right.
There's nothing there. But these next 2 rooms, this was tricky. We had a phone call today in our pre-production. This was a very, very hard 3 tight ends to either get whacked or be the last one on this list of 11. So do you want to pick one? I would like you to do one of these and set it up, because these are both surprises to me.
Right. I am going to pick a guy who is not in the top 11 of tight ends, but he is a guy I would love to have on my team. And his name is Taysom Hill, because he can play quarterback, he can play running back, he can play tight end, but he just doesn't do enough as a tight end to make the top 11. Maybe if they continually played, and they got another guy named Juwan Johnson, who they believe in a lot, and it cuts into his target share, and he blocks like crazy, he catches the ball really well. I think the guy could be a stellar player. I mean, when the Lions played the Saints last year, this was the guy that was killing us. When you needed 1 yard, I would go for it 4th down every play if it was 4th and 1, I would give it to Taysom Hill up the middle. This guy's strong as an ox. He's chiseled. He runs hard. You can't coach want to. And he wants it, and you could tell on every play. But unfortunately, he's not a top 11 tight end in the NFC at this point.
Yeah, well, there you go. Pete the Unaliver coming in.
That thing for you.
Thank you, Pete the Unaliver. And that's the thing, too. These are hard cuts. That's hard for me, too. I looked at that. I like Taysom Hill as well, but it's like, well, maybe they just don't focus their offense around that. I do like Taysom Hill as a player, but I mean, there's some pretty good tight ends in the NFC, and I think that this is a good chance for us to highlight some guys that you might not have known about. And I'm going to enjoy this.
And just like we did with the quarterbacks in week 1, and like we did with the running backs, we are talking about this situation this year. This quarterback, this coach, going into this season, who is this ranking? Because obviously, Taysom Hill is a guy that you might rank higher as in talent, but he has a bum for a quarterback, Derek Carr. So that's also gonna keep him off the list. So just keep that in mind. This year, this is the criteria for this list. Do we have one more team to whack, or are we ready to hit the
Derek Carr? Yeah, this is the last team is really hard right here, and I'm glad that you saved this one for me, because the Taysom Hill one really hurts, but I think that even the audience out there can understand why, because we're going to talk about more traditional tight ends. So this one hurt a little bit more, but he just was right outside of the top 11 and like everything. It's not that he's a bad guy, but Tyler Higbee from the Los Angeles Rams, I have to get rid of the entire room, because if that's your best player, then he's not in the top 11 tight ends. He's not on my top 11s. How do you feel about Tyler Higbee?
Tyler Higbee would not be on my top 11, even if he didn't suffer an ACL in the playoffs, an ACL injury in the playoffs at the hands of Kirby Joseph, which was
a great point.
A legal hit, by the way. Just very unfortunate. Nobody wants to see that happen. But also the timing sucks for him, because he's going to miss the beginning of the year and the other guys that are behind him on the Rams. And there's a lot of firepower there with Kyron Williams, now them drafting Blake Corum, right? And Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford can make every throw. So they're a team that can get by without a good tight end, unlike some of these other teams we talk about, like Carolina or Washington. They got whacked, or New Orleans. They don't have a good quarterback. The Rams do, and that's going to help their team overcome the fact that they do not have a tight end on the top 11. Tyler Higbee, even if he was to come back week 1, he would be on the fringe of this list, but he's not going to make it. So that's it for the Rams.
Oh, thank you, Pete the Unaliver. And that's what's good about having a guy like Pete, because sometimes it hurts. I wouldn't want to have to. I don't want to have to do those things. And and Pete helps us with the hard decisions. And now here we are. We've gotten to this place where we can represent, like, everybody that is left has at least one tight end that we are going to rank in the top 11. So welcome to the top 11 list. And why is that? It's because top 10 lists suck. And you know what? Like Dan Campbell said, it takes more. It takes more. So our lists go to 11 because it takes more. And just because that's where they go, ours go to 11. So what are you going to do about it? So
couldn't you just make it 12?
12? 12? I mean, 12 what? 12 days of Christmas? I mean, dude, it's like July. What are you even talking about? 12.
It's not 7-minute abs.
12, not 12, 11. 11. Let's go to 11. That's
right. Besides, Aaron Rodgers wears number 12, so
okay.
That number. Yeah.
It's my quarterback.
Oh no, not my quarterback right there.
Oh,
get him out of there.
Good afternoon, Paul Jones. Welcome back to the show. Always great to see you. And Jason MC says, hey, guys, Skol. Don't worry, right. Jason. Your tight end has made the top 11 in the NFC. So let's start it off right now with my list. So we've got my list and Russ's list. And we'll start with my list. And it's almost like you were psychic here, Ken Fisher, because he says Noah Fant of the Seattle Seahawks, comes in at number 11 on Main Event Mike's top 11 tight ends of the NFC. And I think what hurts this guy is the system that he played in under Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll loved to play 3 tight ends, and he continually mix up that target share among those 3 tight ends. Last year, he had Disley, Parker, right? Now those guys are gone, and there's a new coach in there named Mike McDonald. And Mike McDonald is going to make Noah Fant the tight end 1 on 90% of the plays. He's a good tight end. He was a good tight end in Denver. The guy can block. He's good enough to make this tight end list. The only thing that makes me wonder about him is target share. When you've got DK Metcalf, too many mouths to feed, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigma now, K9 running the ball. So I think this offense has a lot of firepower. Geno Smith, mid, but definitely a lot of weapons, and they're a dangerous team. And Noah Fant can be a dangerous player, but he's just not going to put up the numbers. Can you pull his graphic up again so I can see what his numbers were?
There you go.
Yeah, 414 yards, and that's split in time. So we'll definitely see an uptick in that, but not enough to get him into the 800 range, which it takes to be a top 5 tight end on this list. So so there's my number 11 pick.
I love it. I like Noah Fant a lot. Like actually, I was teeter-tottering between him and I wanted to note that, you know, he did average 12.9 yards a reception. So he was a pretty big play guy when he was out there, even though he was in that like target share type of thing right there. And I want, where's that graphic again? Right there. And then he was a really good in pass blocking. So that, you know, when you're talking about a complete tight end, he just wasn't out there enough to be in my top 11. But my 11th tight end comes from Atlanta right here. And I like Jonnu Smith right here. And all of his stats really just jumped out at me. And I know he's not the primary guy over there, but 692 yards. He was a very good in blocking. And when you look at his metrics, even against guys on his own team, he was right there with those. And I couldn't unsee a lot of the stuff as far as where he ranked in the top 11. He ranked in the top 10 in almost every single category. So I couldn't keep him out. And I was teeter-tottering between a couple of guys right there. Noah Fant was one of them. But, you know, when I'm looking at Jonnu Smith's number, he was just better everywhere.
Those are respectable numbers. And he's the number 2 tight end on his team. So those are pretty respectable numbers. So Arthur Smith used to be the coach for the Tennessee Titans. So he was familiar with Jonnu Smith. And he brought him over there to Atlanta. And we know now, of course, Arthur Smith, now the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Raheem Morris, the new coach in Atlanta. So I don't know if that losing that familiarity is going to hurt Jonnu Smith's number. But I can tell you, a couple of weeks last year, Jonnu blew it up. And a couple of guys on my fantasy team in my league had Jonnu Smith starting on those blow up weeks, and it won them a couple of weeks. So definitely Jonnu Smith dangerous. And Russell Wayne has him at number 11 on his list of top 11. Our good friends from the CNG podcast are in. Our Chicago Bear fans. What's up, G. Walker? I did say a prayer for CJ. I hope he's doing good. The queen of memes, Elise Memes. She's watching something about Mary right now. No, it does. This list doesn't go to 12. It's like 6-minute abs. No, 7.
No,
it's 7-minute abs.
What are you talking about?
Hey, John, welcome back to the show. Jason says, besides Hawk, Vikings are pretty deep at tight end. Agreed. You better be. You're spending like $60 million on tight ends over there. You do have the second best tight end, the best number 2 tight end besides Jonnu Smith you probably have over there and your guy you've got. So that's a great call out. Luke Musgrave for the Packers is Ken's Fisher's vote here.
I love it.
Oh man, he probably didn't even hear us giving him a nod. Thanks for being here, guy. All right, so moving on. We're moving on to number 10. Put it in the comments. Tell us what you think about this list that goes to 11 of the best tight ends in the NFC. And we're moving on to number 10 now. Russell,
number 10 tight end. in the NFC. Brought to you by the Villain Squad.
Do it again. Do the number 10 again. Do it again.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Tight end in the NFC.
All right, do it. What do you got? What's Russell Wayne's number 10?
It's really funny that they just brought that up, but I got Luke Musgrave as the number 10 tight end. I mean, he came in, for being injured, there's a whole bunch of reasons to really like Luke Musgrave. I mean, you're talking about a guy who can make stuff happen after he gets the ball in his hand. Actually, both of the tight ends. It's like when you look at both of their tight ends together, Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, if you combined them into one tight end, you would probably have a top 5 tight end. But they use both of their tight end. So he's kind of a little bit lower on this list, but I think that he has a chance to be a top 5 tight end this next year. But Luke Musgrave, my number 10 tight end in the NFC.
I like it. There you go. Ken Fisher agrees with you. He's got Luke Musgrave at number 10 as well. And for me, my number 10, I'm with John here. Jake Ferguson from the Dallas Cowboys. Number 10 on Main Event Mike's list. Look at that, 854 yards. That's a pretty solid year. 8 touchdowns and a pass block grade of 73.1 by PFF. Dak Prescott's got CeeDee Lamb out there, but he's got no one in the backfield. Ezekiel Elliott from 1 yard out's good, but the days of him being a bell cow back are probably over. Nobody behind that. You've got Brandon Cooks, who's really long in the tooth as well. So other than CeeDee Lamb, he's going to need this Jake Ferguson to step it up this year. So I think he's going to get plenty of targets. He's going to rank real high. He's going to be a great tight end addition in fantasy leagues in later rounds. I think you're going to be able to get Jake Ferguson. They also have Schoonmaker from Michigan who might eat into them targets because he had a real good rookie year last year. So he might creep in there as well. But they certainly don't miss Dalton Schultz with a year with like 854 yards from Jake Ferguson. So he comes in number 10 on Main Event Mike's list.
I love it. So, and yeah, I love how our lists are matching up with some of the viewers that are out there having Jake Ferguson. And I like Jake Ferguson, man. I think that he's awesome. I want you to go ahead. I think it's your turn to go first in this. You're going to go twice in a row. This is going to be a snake draft.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Because my guy at number 9 is the same guy you had at number 10. And that's Luke Musgrave from the Green Bay Packers. Again, you had Aaron Jones. Okay. If you'd have kept Aaron Jones, Luke Musgrave probably wouldn't have made this list for me. He didn't show me enough in his first year. 418 yards, not too impressed with that. He had some critical drops as well. Was that a reception percentage you showed me there? That wasn't a grade on blocking, was it?
No, that was his reception. That was his reception.
That was a reception, and that's not stellar. 69.6. That shows you he had some critical drops last year. Okay, his receiving percentage should be in the 80 percentile.
Well, no, that's PFF. No, that's his PFF grade, and that's actually very respectable in a PFF grade. That's not his percentage.
That's a PFF grade, not his
that's
percentage.
His grade.
Okay,
that's the.
But I do remember him having a couple of critical drops last year. And now that you have lost Aaron Jones, who was great at catching the ball out of the backfield, Josh Jacobs, not so much. He's still a decent receiver out of the backfield, but not so much like Aaron Jones. So those targets now, Luke Musgrave might get some more targets, and that makes him crack my list here at number 9.
Right on. Okay. So who do you got? We got where our lists go up to 11. And I wanted to explain to everybody right here. This is actually a different challenge in this, because I really believe that this gives us a chance to highlight some other players that might not get a lot of highlight because, maybe not in the top 5. A lot of people know who the top 5 tight ends are, but a lot of people don't know some of these other guys that are up and coming. I like Luke Musgrave, and if you're a Packer fan, you love Luke Musgrave and you think he's the greatest in the world, but the outside world is getting introduced to Luke Musgrave in a lot of different ways. So we are number 9. Number 9 now. Number 9 tight end in the NFC.
Yeah, it's in the NFC, John. So Freiermuth would probably rank somewhere at number 9 in the AFC ranking, I would think.
Yeah, we may do an entire NFL rankings, but we wanted to make sure that we could do the correct research. And I know Mike's got a 9 to 5 or 2. So we actually put time into this to really decide where we want to put these guys. And we just want to do it well. So my number 9 tight end is, I think this guy's a king of solid when you really think of just a solid tight end. And that's Cade Otton out of Tampa Bay. 610 yards, 6 touchdowns, just an overall grade of 75.3 in PFF. Just a really solid tight end. That's all the way around. Not everybody has Travis Kelce or, Hawkinson or Laporta. Right. Sometimes you just got to go out there and just do the deeds. And Cade Otton, I think, is that guy. He's a serviceable tight end, does really, really well. Baker Mayfield in that offense right there. So Cade Otton, number 9 tight end in the NFC.
I love this pick, Russ. And last year I had Mark Andrews in my fantasy league, and of course, you guys know he got hurt week 1 or 2. There were no tight ends in my league to pick up. I picked this guy up, and he did enough. You saw those 6 touchdowns. That was enough to win me a championship in my league. So great. I love this kid. And when you think about the mouths they have to feed there, Rashad White, an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield. Of course, Mike Evans and Godwin out there on the outside. Cade Otton stepped in, and he did the job. And he's a young player, and that's why he is my number 8 selection as we move up this list from the bottom.
Cade Otton?
Yeah, Cade Otton is my number 8 on this list.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I'm like...
That's all right. Hey, that's our good friend Jeremy Ball. Good evening.
Good evening. We're ranking tight ends. You should do this stuff with us. Like, get your tight ends ready on the fly. But next week, we're going to be doing wide receivers. Top 11 wide receivers in the NFC. And we're going to have our lists, and we can compare them with your lists, and it's going to be fun. We're going to do this exercise all off season. And I'm on Cade Otton.
Who do you have at number 8?
Who do I have at number 8? I got this guy from Arizona that I couldn't unsee. I'm just digging every time. A good young tight end right here, 825 yards, averaging over 10 yards of reception. And just his receiving grade, he's going to be just a solid target right there for Kyler Murray. And then they're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. now too. Yeah, that looks like pretty good right there. I might even argue to have him even higher on the list, but for the time being right there, I got him slotted right in there at number 8.
Okay. I like it. Trey McBride, second-year player for Arizona, comes in at number 8 for Russell Wayne. So now in the true spirit of the snake draft, why don't you lead off with your number 7 pick?
All right, let me get my my number 7 pick. Now, this is in our list. When you're talking about the NFC, I want everybody to understand that there's 16 teams in the NFC. So what's about to happen is a very, very rare thing right here. But I actually have 2 players from one team that are in my top 11 as far as tight ends go. And I have the other Atlanta Falcon tight end and Kyle Pitts as my number 7 and 667 yards, 12.6 yards a reception, 35 first downs. Now I was looking, that was one of the stats that I thought was a telling stat to me. If you're a really, really good tight end, can you move the chains? Because that's what really good tight ends do, is they can move the chains. 36 first downs for Kyle Pitts right there. And he comes in at my number 7 tight end in the NFC.
I love it. For number 7 for me, this is where our lists are starting to change up a bit. We were kind of neck and neck coming up from 11 to 10, but number 7 for me is Dallas Goedert from the Philadelphia Eagles. And Dallas Goedert is a very good tight end. Everybody knows he's a very good tight end. Last year, he had a terrible year. And the year before that, he had an average year. 613 yards is misleading because, believe me, guys that had him on their fantasy team, he wasn't scoring a lot of points. He'd just get a little bit each game. And now we play a 17-game schedule. That looks like 637 yards. Dallas Goedert could be in talent higher on this list. But again, a lot of mouths to feed in Philly now with Saquon, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. That's a lot of firepower and a running quarterback who is my number 1 ranked quarterback in the NFC. So, and also Dallas Goedert on the back 9 of his career as well. He really should be higher on this list than number 7, but that's where I got him.
I love that. I love that you have that there, but there's to me, what I looked at, like from number 4 to number 8, it was like, these are just good tight ends. Like I'm just looking through, and like all these guys, for one reason or another, from here on up, they're just good, solid guys. Right. And you're ready for my number 6. Is that what's going on right
here? Did you give your number 7?
I thought
yes, you did. You let it. We're snaking it. That's right.
We're snaking. All right. So it's your turn to give your number 6. We're snaking.
Okay. Right. So I got number 6. So number 6 on Main Event Mike's list of top 11 tight ends in the NFC is, we'll let you know right after this message. Oh, no, just kidding. So please go over to our YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit an emoji or something. Like something, love something, put a heart up there, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, we still appreciate you watching. But man, that's the best way you can help us out, is subscribe to the channel at Villain Squad on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, follow the page at Lions Villain Squad on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. We're also on Threads, Main Event Mike on Threads. It's time now for number 6. On Main Event Mike's list. And it's a guy you had a couple slots down, and it's Trey McBride. Can you throw his stats? 852 yards last year, right? They had no one. This guy emerged. He was the first tight end taken a couple years in the draft. They had no one. They knew it was going to be a rebuilding year in Arizona, and this guy's actually ahead of the curve. His first year was really slow out of the gate. No Kyler Murray. Now he gets Kyler Murray back about a few games into the year. I think it was 6 games into the year. He gets Kyler Murray and he puts up 852 yards. Now they got Marvin Harrison. They love to run the ball. Jonathan Gannon loves to run the ball. James Conner put up a great season. He made our list of top 11 running backs. So I think Trey McBride is poised to catapult himself as a top 5 tight end in this conference for next year. But right now he comes in at number 6, just outside of that for Main Event Mike.
Love that pick. Trey McBride is one of those ascending guys. Like last year, he was the darling, the camp darling. I think he was drafted like the 2nd round. So they expected big things, and tight ends take a minute, and it's nice to see them making that jump. And as you get into my number 6, my number 6 tight end in the NFC is from the Windy City, Cole Kmet, 719 yards, six touchdowns, 36 first downs. And that's with a quarterback that doesn't know how to throw the ball. And there you go. You had Cole Kmet right there. And really, he was locked in with about 4 people right here. And he was just right behind the next couple guys that I'm going to be putting up here, and you'll see why. But he's a complete guy. He's pretty good at run blocking, pretty good at pass blocking, just an all-around serviceable tight end. Cole Kmet, I mean, I would love to have him on the Lions, but that's a solid dude. I love that. That's a bite of kneecap. That's a Dan Campbell type of tight end right there.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
He is, and he's a Chicago native. They love him out there. But again, target share with him, right? They've got so many new weapons out there now to throw to, and
Right.
a new guy throwing the ball. But I like it. So we're doing the snake. So now we need your number 5 pick.
Ooh, I got to get my number 5. I got to go see what I got at number 5. Now, and this was very, very close to me. Like these 2 tight ends right in a row right here. And number 5 is where I have Dallas Goedert at 613 yards, 34 first downs. And the thing that stood apart from him is that pass blocking grade that he had. He was in the top 5 in the blocking metrics. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL that also offers the receiving value. And that's very rare, those Jason Witten type of players. So I do have him ranked a smidgen ahead because he offers so much value in the running game, because you don't know whether he's going to pull out, go, and, and he complements a running game. So that's why I have him, but not much. Him and Cole Kmet are really neck and neck to me, but I have Dallas Goedert as my number 5. Number 5. Number 5 tight end in the NFC.
And at my number 5, I'm going to defer here to our good friend Jeremy Ballreich, who, by the way, you can see we are also broadcasting into the Huddle Sports Network on Roku TV. And you can see Jeremy over there on Roku TV, also on his own page as well. So glad to have you in here. But Jeremy says 11 should be Kyle Pitts. Well, sorry, Jeremy, that's actually my number 5. Because like you say here, with Kirk Cousins throwing the ball now, maybe he won't be allergic to touchdowns. He's not going to be. Look at those numbers, 667. They got Drake London and, a solid number 2 over there too. They're going to be running and throwing to Bijan Robinson. They've already said they're going to feature Bijan Robinson. Look for Bijan Robinson to be going in top 5 of fantasy football drafts this year because of all the statements out of Atlanta about how they are going to feature him. That is also going to unlock Kyle Pitts. The run game is going to unlock Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was one of the highest touted tight ends, highest drafted tight ends to come out in a long time. I think it was 5th or 6th overall by Atlanta. And he was an absolute monster in college. His career so far in the pros has been disappointing. And looking ahead at this year, and when I was analyzing this, man, I took Kyle Pitts in my fantasy league when he was a rookie and was burned by it. So I'm gun shy about taking Kyle Pitts. But now that Arthur Smith, the conservative play callers, all out of there, and I think that now, like Jeremy makes the point, with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball, Kyle Pitts is a top 5 tight end in the NFC.
Can I make a point I forgot to make on Kyle Pitts? I wanted to add this in there for you, Mike, to actually defend this part right here. But in pass blocking, Kyle Pitts was number 2 in the NFC in pass blocking grade from PFF, and his counterpart in pass blocking was number 3, Jonnu Smith. That just means that Atlanta knows how to pass block. They know how to use their tight ends in pass blocking. So that was pretty impressive to me. So the illusion that all he can do is run fast and catch the ball, that is just a myth, and that is
right.
Fabrications, lies.
And now it's time for my number 4 pick of the top 11 tight ends in the NFC. It's just not just another top 10 list, folks. Why? Because I just go to 11. So at number 4, it takes more. That's why. That's why, because it takes more than a top 10 list. Number 4 on Main Event Mike's list is Cole Kmet. Because I realize there's a lot of new weapons there, a lot more mouths to feed now. Keenan Allen, but he'll probably be hurt by week 3. Rome Odunze is a rookie, and main number reason is Caleb Williams is a rookie, and who's a rookie quarterback's best friend besides a running game is a good tight end, and Cole Kmet's a good tight end. He's really going to help Caleb Williams. That's got him as high as number 4. I think Caleb Williams is going to lean on Cole Kmet this year. That veteran, like I said, the fans love him. He's a local Chicago guy. He's solid runner, catches everything that's thrown at him. Like you said, I'd love to have this guy on my team. I have a lot of admiration and respect for Cole Kmet. Not enough to take him in fantasy, but enough to make him number 4 on my list of top 11.
Very, very good. And now we are down. Excellent, to the top 3 tight ends for both of us right here in the NFC. And wait a minute. You have
it's
to
your
go.
number 4. It's your number 4. I did the snake.
Oh,
I did Kyle Pitts and Kmet back to back. Now it's your number 4.
All right. So everything I just said for like 20 seconds before that, forget all of that. And my number 4 tight end in the NFC is, here's the surprise, is Jake Ferguson.
Wow.
From the Dallas Cowboys. And just look at the stats. This is one of the guys. This is why I love doing these deep dives right here, because I had no idea, Mike, that he was that good. And I don't know if the viewers knew that he was that good, but every single metric. So when I'm looking through here, I want you guys to understand, when I'm looking through this little PFF thing in here, I'm not only am I looking at, your yards, the amount of receptions, how many touchdowns you got, what your offensive grade was, how many first downs that you got for your team. Like, I put this all in a smorgasbord and then put the situation that they're going back into. All of this goes into a smorgasbord, and Jake Ferguson was really top 2 in most of the categories, but he is proving to be a very, very solid. I mean, they love long-term tight ends down there in Dallas, and Jason Witten was a great one. I think Ferguson is showing signs that he might be another great tight end that is emerging. So, but that is Jake Ferguson. He is my number 4 tight end in the NFC.
I love it, Russ. I had Ferguson all the way down at number 10. Maybe it's my hate for the Cowboys influencing my list. I don't know. But
the blinders on.
Right. But the rookie they got from Michigan down there had a good year last year for a rookie season. So I think they're going to incorporate him more. That's why I put Ferguson down on my list. But you're right. You can't argue with those stats. Right. And we got some people here in the comments that agree with you as well. Craig says Ferguson was solid, very underrated. Paul says, I like Ferguson. He made me some monies last season. Right.
Yeah, look at those numbers, man. I was like, I looked at that and he was like in the top and like
with
yards.
with no Tony Pollard there this year, and Brandon Cooks eligible for Social Security soon. I think that you're going to see Jake Ferguson be a fantasy draft steal in the late rounds this year. And that's why he comes in at number 4 on Russell Wayne's list of top 11 tight ends. And Russell, what do you got for number 3?
Number 3. Oh, God, I got to let you go first on this number 3.
Snake draft, your turn.
Yeah, but for what we talked about earlier, you have to do your number 3 first. Remember?
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, just for that. Just
number 3
that.
For main event, Mike, is TJ Hawkinson. I know he had an ACL injury late in the season, but he had the surgery like the next day. I think he might only miss a week or 2, if any. They say he's on track on his rehab. I did look into that before I put him on my list at all. I know Jeremy in his list, he's got him as low as 6 on Jeremy's list. But you can't deny there is going to be a target share issue there, especially now with Aaron Jones, one of the best pass catching backs in Minnesota now, now in Minnesota. And of course, Jordan Addison, the stellar rookie season last year, he's legit. And Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the league. The only thing that hampers this pick is who's going to throw him the ball. Sam Darnold, I think, is going to be better than people think. He's been better of late than he ever was with the Jets. The whole team around him was a dumpster fire at the Jets, and he was labeled a bust. He did really well in Carolina. Just ask the Detroit Lions. He carved us up and destroyed us. And he did that by running the ball, too, behind a good offensive line. And that's something else they have in Minnesota. So Sam Darnold and his gigantic head is going to
It's my quarterback.
make TJ Hawkinson get the stats he needs to legitimize being picked number 3 of the top 11 tight ends in the NFC, because we all know the talent's there.
Oh man, and I love that too. I also have TJ Hawkinson at number 3. Now, I did talk to you earlier, and I was teeter-tottering. I had really thought about putting TJ Hawkinson at number 2, but you brought up a couple good points. One of them being he may not be ready for the start of the season. So we're talking about their current situation. So you have to take that into consideration. And he doesn't have a solid quarterback throwing to him yet, or at least we don't know that he is. So advantage top 2 tight ends in the NFC when it comes to TJ Hawkinson. But you can't deny the numbers. I could never put him down that far low. I mean, even missing games, 960 yards, 5 touchdowns, 48 first downs. He was second in that category. Getting for a third in that category, and that's missing games too. So I know that we hate Hawkinson as Lions fans, but if we're really honest and we're really realistic, he is a top 3 tight end in the NFC.
And that's who you have at number 3.
That's who I have at number 3.
Also have Hawkinson. Mommy says when Hawkinson gets touched, he falls down.
We're going to bite the kneecap off.
Paul Jones says Hawk is top 3 if he's healthy.
Oh!
Like that. You like that? And John says Hawk is still the man. He rarely misses games. I can't argue with that. He doesn't always show up in those games, though. Sometimes remember as Lion, he would be great. He would score 2 touchdowns in a game or 3 touchdowns in a game and then disappear for weeks.
He would explode.
And Joe makes a good point. The Lions set tight end records after Hawk was traded with a 3-headed monster full of no-name guys. Brock Wright, Zylstra, and who was the third? There was another third guy in there too.
James Mitchell.
And they scored more tight ends with those 3 than any team scoring touchdowns with tight ends. That's a great call out, Joseph. So that brings us to your number 2 pick, Russell.
Yep. And really, it was teeter-tottering between TJ Hawkinson and our very own Sam Laporta in his first year. And obviously he has extra yards because he got to play playoff games. And yes, that should count. That should count for your overall stats. So he was top 2 in every single metric. But yeah, I'm not going to get into the number 1 guy yet. We'll save it for the number 1 guy. But
no, my number 2 is also Sam Laporta, 1,065 yards, 1,000-yard receiver from the tight end position. I'll take that every day and 3 times on Sunday. So Sam Laporta comes in number 2 on both Russell Wayne and my list. And that brings us to number 1. And number 1 for both of us as well, George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers. And what we're seeing here is the top 3 tight ends in the NFC all went to the same college, tight end U. The Iowa Hawkeyes have produced number 1, George Kittle,
nice,
Sam Laporta, and TJ Hawkinson in the NFC. It's tight end U for a reason, and they produce some great tight ends, and George Kittle is a great tight end. He's not only a great tight end, he's a great leader, a great teammate, a great veteran leadership. He's a threat to take the ball to the house, even over the middle. Every time he touches the ball, he blocks, one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. He does it all. Team captain. Sam Laporta is incredible. If it wasn't for George Kittle existing, he'd be number 1 on this list. These 2 tight ends, Laporta and Kittle, who finished top 2 in both of our lists for the villain squad today, and probably on your list too. Also Jeremy Ballreich's list. George Kittle and Sam Laporta, 1 and 2. They're also probably 1 and 2 in the entire NFL, not just the NFC.
Well, don't forget Kelsey's in it. Kelsey's in that conversation.
Right, okay.
Too, but, I mean, Kelsey's, to me, is the bona fide number 1 tight end in the NFL. But Kittle is actually, I got to admit, is a level above Sam Laporta. And where it really stands out, as a receiver, I think they're very close. But George Kittle is a beast of a run blocker and a pass blocker. He is the most complete tight end. I think he's better than Kelsey in that way. I think Kittle might be the best tight end that's most complete in the NFL than Kelsey. And then you could make an argument for Laporta and Mark Andrews in that next tier down. But those guys are on a different level.
Honestly, I think that Jason Kelsey is the best tight end of all time. Better than
Travis
Tony, in my opinion, better than Tony Gonzalez, better than Gronkowski. Travis Kelsey has done enough, in my opinion, to consider him the greatest tight end of all time. After that Buffalo game last year, I was convinced. And look, that's how they won the Super Bowl. They just Mahomes to Kelsey all the way down the field. Yeah, I think he's the best of all time. But right now, George Kittle's younger, and he does as much for his team. I mean, let's face it. The Niners got so many more weapons than the Chiefs, but Patrick Mahomes is the great equalizer. So I think we're justified here on our list. Thank you, everyone, for playing the game today with us. It is the top 11 tight ends here on the Villain Squad, top 11 in the NFC. Next week, we're going to do wide receivers. Wide receiver 1. Will a wide receiver 2 make the top 11? Tune in to find out next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time as we count down the wide receivers. Put some thought into it and bring some takes to the table. We want to hear what you think on the Villain Squad. It's the main event every Monday at 7 p.m. Broadcasting live into Detroit Lions Villain Squad. Broadcasting live into Detroit Lions News Podcast. Broadcasting live into the Huddle Sports Network on Roku TV. And our group. Please join our group. If you've joined any groups or if you pay attention to any Lions groups, you're a member of any groups, aren't you sick of all the scammers and the people trying to sell you stuff? We keep our group clean. We have some great admins, and we keep it clean of all that. It's just good football talk in our group. That's where you can post your opinions, your takes. You can post it, and it's called Lions Main Event, MANE, Lions Main Event. That's our group on Facebook. Please join the group. We're trying to grow the group. We're at 19.3K right now. We're going to try to break that 20K barrier for our group. And it's a good, clean group. I know you're going to love it. You've been watching the main event on the Villain Squad Network. For all of us here, including the maestro, Russell Wayne. Somewhere he's going to put my picture up, and I'm going to sign off at some point. Put my face up there, would you, Russell? There he is. Hey, for everyone here at the Villain Squad, God bless each and every one of you on Main Event Mike. Peace out.